Hello and welcome to Microsoft Hates Greg. My name is Greg Deckler, and today we're continuing on with our series on looking at alternatives to Power BI. For no other reason than just pure spite for them jacking up my price by $4 per month. Decided that I would do this series. So now, last time, let's see, so far we've covered Metabase, we covered BERT, which was a total debacle. Metabase was pretty awesome. But I figured I'd throw it a curveball. I've been getting all kinds of people sending me, hey, please review this, please review this. So I figured today we would take a look at Astrato, which I hadn't really heard too much about. And so anyway, we're going to take a look at it today. And I'm telling you right now, I've only spent maybe 30 minutes to an hour, maybe total, and just I'm playing on the platform and that sort of thing. So, it's very much, I haven't dug into all the details yet. It's really, I wanted this first series to really be more about, hey, let's take a look at each one of these quickly, and are they worth exploring and going into a deeper dive on, right? And I'll tell you why, and this is a lesson for you other vendors out there, in terms of why I'm actually looking at Astrato and covering Astrato first before a bunch of you other ones that we're going to get to. And that is because they're upfront about their pricing. Okay. Nothing is more annoying to me in this day and age than going out to a vendor site and there's just nothing about how much it costs, right? In terms, it's just like, oh, request a demo. I don't want to sit through your stupid demo. Okay, people. I want to know what the pricing is, know what I want to then be able to give it a try and decide really quickly on whether or not it's worth, me taking a deeper dive into your product in order to use it, right? So just at least give me just the basics of that kind of stuff so I can actually evaluate your tool, right? So, they don't give professional licensing, enterprise licensing, which is annoying, but they did at least provide starter licensing where I can say, okay, it's comparable in price, or maybe now a little bit less than Power BI, right? And that's why Sigma, that's why I'm not, covering you guys yet, because you guys are completely shady about your pricing. You don't have anything. You do have a try free, so I will be covering you. Omni is the same way, shady about their licensing, right? Sisense is even worse. Somebody mentioned they wanted me to do Sisense. All they give you is a demo. You can't even try it, and there's zero information about pricing. So I don't even know if I'm going to like do anything with Sisense because I did take a look at like their developer playground and some of their visuals and stuff look kind of cool in that, but I don't know if I can stomach it if I can't get my hands on it and try it for myself and know what the hell the pricing's going to be. And then ThoughtSpot is same thing. At least I can get a free trial, but they're also shady about their pricing. So anyway, so Strato it is, right? So it's $12 per month, which now makes it cheaper than Power BI Pro by $2 now. And it's kind of interesting. They have some of these comparisons out here on compare Astrato versus Power BI, modern cloud native BI, and they're using the old Power BI logo. But Strato has that, right? They have taken all of the good points for Astrato and all the bad points for Power BI and put them in this table. Vendor lock-in. I love that. That's been a big subject of conversation after this 40% price gouge that Microsoft did right back in Live Connection. I know this was just announced for Power BI at Ignite, but these guys have had it for a while now. Direct query limitations, right? Consumer grade BI design. Not sure what that one really means or whatever, but anyway, but they've got it. You can see who they consider their competitors, right? Tableau, Looker, Streamlit, ThoughtSpot, and Sigma. So I'm gonna have to add Streamlit onto the list now because I just noticed that one. That's not on my list at the moment. Okay, so now they have a data gallery that's out there. So if let's just show you the data gallery real quickly. So this data gallery, kind of similar to Power BI's data gallery, right? And you can see there's some pretty good looking reports out there. So like if you go down here, it's like they all start out very simple, right? And then they get increasingly, more complex and cooler looking and all kinds of stuff. And I would say that, just by glancing at these thumbnails, and then looking at a few of these reports, right? Look at that. That's pretty cool. Fallout series versus game activity. There's some really cool reports just by looking at these. I would say it's comparable. It can produce comparable reports to Power BI, I would say, just by looking at these data galleries and then playing with them, right? So this is a in retail insights powered by ClickHouse, right? And sales and orders. Now, one thing I will say is that some of these take a little bit of time to render. And I think it's because it's all live data that you're connecting. So it's probably comparable in speeds to like direct query in Power BI is my guess. And again, we'll get into this. So we'll let this load. This does take a little bit of time to load initially. Once it's loaded, it seems to be extremely fast. So it must be like buffering it into a cache or something along those lines. Because this part, especially for this particular report page, takes some time. Yeah, there we go. So once it loads up right now I can do, now the way they do this is that I can like select things and then I apply the filters and then everything changes, right? And then I can clear it all and everything changes back. But again, it's all very fast. Once it's all loaded, it all, boom, works pretty well. So anyway, they have some cool stuff. And so the real question though is, what does it take to build one of these things? So that's what I did. I went ahead and built one of these things. And let me go and kind of, before I show you, I built a very simple one because again, I didn't play in this thing for very long. But what you do is you have collections, workbooks go into collections essentially. They have this data tab where you can create a data source essentially. Now, they don't have a ton of connectors, is one thing I noticed, right? So if you go here and you say new connection, right? Here is your Snowflake, BigQuery, Databricks. There's very limited amounts of connectors. In fact, the only one I really could use was Google Sheets because I had some Google Sheets that were sitting out there. And I don't know if, this is their full amount of connectors that they have, but, for the pro versions and that sort of thing. But this is what you get with the starter. And it's all cloud-based resources. So it looks like there's no need to like monkey around with data gateways and stuff like that. But does say that all your data needs to be up in the cloud from what I can look at and tell. Then they have this reporting. So this reporting, really what this is reporting schedules. These are like subscriptions basically. So you can like fire off subscriptions and things like that. They do have this administration link, users, invitation links, groups, workbook accelerator by connecting to your own data. Okay. Anyway, they have overall it looks like the Power, works similar to the Power BI service in many respects, right? So if I go back to my workbooks, now one thing I thought was weird is that, so this is actually 2 copies of this. So I was editing this and I published it, and I can view it, right? But I can't seem to like unpublish it so that like, if I need to make edits to it or something like that, I couldn't find a way to do that, which seemed really weird to me. So that was a little bit off-putting, but so I had to like do the duplicate as draft. So here it is in edit mode. So that's what I have over here. This is in edit mode. So the editing takes a little bit. I mean, when you first connect to the data set, it gives you, let's take a look at it. Data. So here's my data view. There we go. So again, you bring in your data, bring in different tables from your data. You can segment that into dimensions and measures, all the fun stuff, with star schema and all that sort of thing. Advanced options, drag and zoom. Okay, yep. So table to preview data. Haven't selected any data yet. I have no idea. Anyway, still figuring out some of this, right? Oh, there we go. Yeah, it actually comes back and it will show me like the actual data and the actual feed preview. Things do seem, I would say, to be a little slow sometimes, but again, I get some of that with Power BI service as well. Now, some of the stuff that I found cool actually was in this messages. So like time travel, right? So they actually support time travel, which is for like Snowflake, Google, BigQuery, Databricks. So that's kind of really cool, just that's supported natively. Um, Apparently that just came out, right? Pass-through authentication. So anyway, some cool stuff. You get your notes down there. Okay, back to the workbook. So the workbook experience is pretty decent, I would say. You have a lot of visuals, right? Table, insights, numbers, bar charts, your advanced visualizations like waterfalls, dot, multi-measure waterfalls, word clouds, alluvial diagram. I think that's your ribbon chart kind of thing or whatever. Tree map. So they got all the what you would expect as far as all of the standard visuals, even more, I would say, than Power BI to a certain degree as far as standard visuals. They got some that, just Power BI, you'd have to go out to the custom you'd have to get a custom visual to cover some of these, right? So, and I think they did add tree maps. I saw, yeah, there's tree map right there. Not that that's my favorite thing in the world. So they support quite a few different visuals. There's different ways of doing filters, right? They filter like slicers and date pickers. So this is basically like your um, slicers within Power BI. They have the capability to support bookmarks. Now this is where it gets kind of interesting. They actually have input stuff because they do support write back. So they have different ways of providing user input. This goes far beyond like what Power BI has today, as far as like field parameters or whatever those, how that stuff is. They do support like images and shapes and text and all of that sort of fun stuff. The arrow shape, they have a gallery. You can actually load up your own media and images and then use that. I think this is kind of cool that basically you can manage this stuff in layers. So every visual that you put on becomes its own layer, and you can kind of turn it on and off and lock it and that sort of stuff, which I think, that was a big miss on Power BI's part, is that they didn't go with the layer concept, but it is what it is at this point. You can define these variables, which I haven't really found know what to do with quite yet, but you can actually like define different kinds of variables like Boolean, number, and string. Not sure what I'd use them for, but they do support that. And then this is cool. This is actions. So here's right back in SQL, right? So they've got all kinds of these building blocks that you can kind of, looks very oh, what's that Scratch. Looks very Scratch to me in terms of, I think I haven't played around with this yet. But you can do all these different actions and create your own actions apparently, which I think is really cool, and I really need to learn more about this in terms of the actions in that. So go back to here. Some of the stuff is a little, they have theming, so you can actually change the theme and build a theme right within the program itself here, this web-based program. One thing I did find annoying was working with maps in in the service or in this. In that it is kind of cool. Again, you can do layers. So it's very kind of like the Azure map visual, and you can have a point layer and a map layer, and you can add more layers, image and heat map and shape map. So that's very cool. And then you can, like you edit these layers, and they do support like, you know, conditional formatting and things like that in terms of right conditional coloring and all of that sort of fun stuff. So that's kind of cool. You can control all your map settings right from here in terms of point to point layer, and I'm using meter code. The one thing I found out about the map that was really annoying though was in moving it around and stuff. So what would happen is if I like move this down too far a little bit and I zoomed in, I'm like, oh, I want to get it back. It like it moves the whole damn visual across the page, which is really super annoying because essentially what you have to do is you kind of have to like use the sizing handles because I couldn't. It only just does the grab, right? You can't just like move the whole visual by itself. And it doesn't always happen, but it happens enough that it's really annoying when it does. And I couldn't really get the auto zoom to really work. So when I was auto zooming things, it's almost like you have to like basically put it at the maximum size and then mess around with it. Now it doesn't happen when you actually view the report. Then it works correctly because you're just scrolling around in it and zooming in that. And yeah, okay. This was scheduled dashboard reporting. Okay, and this is the one where I've actually nope. Well, let's go back and I actually view this. I'll wait till things load in here. That's the maps loaded in. So there we go. So here's the other people by phone, by credit card. And I can zoom in here, and I don't have any of the problems in terms of my map stuff going crazy on me. But like if I zoom in, I can see like these individual parking places, right? And if I click on here, now the way they've implemented this is basically you then say apply filters. If you watch the map closely, you can see that some of them disappear, right? So it is actually, doing cross filtering and all that sort of stuff between the different visuals in that. So, and I know this hasn't, this isn't the greatest looking visual report or anything, but again, I only spent very little time in it. But it does, I would say, it is something that I would feel like is worth investing more of my time in to get to know the platform better. Just in spending an hour on the platform, it looks intriguing to me. It looks like it has certain feature functionality that is far beyond Power BI's capabilities, like the write back stuff and some of the like the whole drag and drop kind of programming interface. I think is really cool. But I know Microsoft's making announcements at Ignite that they're coming out with write back. 10 years late, I would say, but they are coming out with it. But anyway, Strato, I get a thumbs up. I would after my experience with Bert, I just needed to decompress and so this is and get back on track and like believe that okay, there are going to be some decent alternatives out there versus Bert. Wow, that was a stressful and really annoying experience on my part. But Astrato, I'm a fan of. I'll probably keep taking a look at this platform. So we'll see if I can get through a bunch of the other platforms, and then I'll probably have to sign back up for another 30-day demo or trial. But looks like something that I'd be worth. It's something to me that I would say is worth investing more of my time in to get to know better. So that's all I had for this video. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.